Okay, let's start. Hi, I'm Kevin. You may know me from a video you probably just watched, which is my Battle for Bikini Bottom review, because I don't know why else you'd be here, because this is a Let's Play that I sort of hinted at in the very end of my review. And so, what I'm going to do is, because Heavy Iron Studios sort of made an unofficial trilogy, that's what everyone online refers to it. It's Battle for Bikini Bottom, the movie game, which is this one, and Truth or Square, which is based on the, I believe, the 10-year anniversary special. And so I'm just going to go through this one. I didn't want to do a full review for this one, just because, A, I'm lazy, and it would take forever, and I also want to have more of a bit of a, put more priority on Truth or Square if I ever get around to doing that one, because I might. Or if Heavy Iron makes the new movie game for the second movie, that would be pretty cool. But anyway, let's focus on this for now. And what we're starting out with is the movie game, which follows the plot of the movie, surprisingly. And there are lots of different things about this game when you compare it to Battle for Bikini Bottom, because these games, I believe they were made within a year or so of each other. So clearly they reuse a lot of the assets, because otherwise it would be very difficult to make a full game in that amount of time. It's also a more linear game, so it's more, I wouldn't say focused, because there are some problems with how linear it is, and I'll get to that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be discussing the new things, why they're good, the new things, why they're bad, things that are kept the same, and just, like, general trivia, because I did a lot of research on Spongebob games, and it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. I hope you're having a good time. By the way, today is my birthday. I thought I'd mention that. I'm going to timestamp this. Yeah. This game, or Battle for Bikini Bottom, came out the day after my birthday, which is Halloween. So, I don't know, I did an initial recording of this, and I just wasn't feeling up to it. I was pretty tired. I did some recording earlier, so I didn't feel really energized, and I wanted to give a redo, so we're going to do that today. First thing that's new, SpongeBob starts out with a costume. Didn't have that in Battle for Bikini Bottom. There were none, really. This game has a few costumes, and they're actually pretty nice. Some are extras, some are based on the level. And actually what we're getting here is an intro for an enemy, which this game shares with Battle for Bikini Bottom. Like I said in my review, hey, if you haven't checked out my review, that would be pretty cool if you did, because I worked hard on it. Otherwise, that's the last plug I'm going to give it. That's the last plug I'm going to give it, and we'll just go from here. And start out with the spin attack, once again recycled. I had this joke when I first got this game that I wouldn't even need to hear the instructions, because I knew exactly how this game would play, and basically I did. It's very similar. Already we get sliding, recycled over. Double jumping, still there, still constant. Spinning. We don't have all the moves we used to. We don't have the up smash, we don't have the ground pound attack, but we may get those. Actually, we will. I won't lie to you. We will get those. One thing that's new, extras. We used to have like socks, which would get us golden spatulas, but really golden spatulas, they unlock levels, but once you got past 75, there's nothing that you needed golden spatulas for. This game, however, we get extras, which we go down here, you get all these. You see these question marks? These are going to be beautiful extras, including film trailers. Are you ready to watch a film trailer? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to play a game, because we like to play games, which is something that the Gamergate controversy is sort of distracting people from and getting people upset, and we won't talk about that, because basically, as much as I like the people who are doing good things and saying good things, and I won't say like which side I'm exactly on, but basically it's just a depressing thing, and I'd rather play this game because this game makes me happy, and it's my birthday, and I'd rather be happy on my birthday. These replace the tikis, these boxes here. See, these very nice fancy boxes that are a bit of a visual downgrade. This recycled directly. This is a recycled asset. There are lots of recycled assets. There are also lots of new ones, like that helicopter. We don't have the ground pound attack here, which I would have liked. Get these out of the way. And I'll also talk about how Sandy isn't in this game. She's only really playable in Battle for Bikini Bottom, and not until Plankton's Robotic Revenge, which was 2013 by Activision, because THQ folded in 2012, and they were the publishers for pretty much every SpongeBob game ever since the first game, which was for the Game Boy Color. It was like Legend of the Golden Spatula or something. And oh, I missed those. Yeah, and what they did is they folded, so Activision got the rights to SpongeBob and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they are the ones producing those games. I saw Plankton's Robotic Revenge for $30 in EB Games, and wouldn't buy it for that much. I'd only buy it for less than 20 because I heard it was less than stellar. And I was talking to a guy online, and I was telling him that if Heavy Iron makes a new SpongeBob movie game, then we would totally pre-order that game, because I'd just be excited for that. I don't care if it's going to be poor. As long as Heavy Iron's making it, I'm just going to do it because I made a whole video saying why I like them, so it's sort of my responsibility now. And let's talk about manly points for a second. It's the way you upgrade in this game. There weren't any really real upgrades in the... Who do we want to do? Actually, I'm going to do Patrick for now because he's going to need health in the next level. He's the star of that level. But basically, manly points replace shiny objects. Shiny objects used to unlock like different areas, get you past like, open up new levels, get golden spatulas, and yeah, you paid Mr. Krabs. But in this, they are functioned only for leveling up and getting upgrades. So every time you level up, which slowly increases, you can see my bar at the top there, you get an upgrade point, which I showed you the upgrade screen there. I upgraded health for Patrick because I know he's going to be in the next level, and we sort of want that. Yeah, there we go. First level over. One thing to point out, the autosave in this. See, this is a game that has autosave, which is pretty nice for its time. Yeah, I'm just gonna, sorry, another tangent. The way the story scenes work in this game is that they have still scenes from the movie, or sometimes they have like screens from the movie that are like based on what happened in that scene, but they didn't have the resources from the actual film, so they drew their own, and it looks really weird and it's pretty obvious. And also here they have like weird voice acting for that guy. That guy didn't have those lines in the movie. Those are stock images. Like, you see what I'm getting at here. They're clearly not high budget cutscenes. I really prefer the in-engine cutscenes in this, which are actually pretty good. They also had those in Battle for Bikini Bottom, and they worked well. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Like I said, I did one attempt at this, and I fit a lot of like trivia and discussion into a very small period of time, and I don't want to... I'm trying not to like forget and miss all the stuff I talked about. So, like, forgive me if I feel like I'm rushing everything into a crowded sentence. Yeah. So I might do that, but I'll try and slow down. Yeah, it's good to spread things out a bit more. My goal for this episode is to finish the Goofy Goober area. I might be approaching a half-hour episode on this one, 25 minutes or so, so we'll see how that goes. I might be able to speed through this one. What was I saying, though? Yeah, the autosave, when the game autosaves... In Battle for Bikini Bottom, when it would save, it would cut out the, like the visuals would freeze, and you're like, oh great, this is fantastic, but the music kept playing. In this, the music doesn't keep playing, so you think your game has crashed, which isn't the best, especially when you just finished a ridiculously hard time trial, and you don't want to lose that. And those are hideous. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh gee. I believe those are the fodder enemies. The way the enemies in this game work is that they take all the basic enemy gameplay styles and just put different skins on them based on the area of the game you're in. In this case, it would be all Goofy Goober areas. So you have the hammer guys. Are they coming at me? Yeah, this guy's trying to wreck me up. I'm not going to let him, because that's not how I roll. I'm a star, and that's not how I roll. I spin, which is a move we're going to get in this level. It's my favorite move in the game. I'll explain to you why when we get to it. And here, basic attack, it's a... very close, what is it? It's a very proximity-based attack. They remind me of the two-legged robots who jumped around and sort of like barfed in your face from Battle Bottom. There's not a really good way to describe them if I don't have the name, and I don't, so sorry about that. Anyway, Patrick already has a costume, so already this game is experimenting with costumes. I guess they're pretty nice. They don't exactly change the gameplay much. Speaking of games that are based around costumes, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, which was the first 3D SpongeBob game, released for the PS2 and the GameCube, I believe. So the thing about the PS2 version of that game is it had a lot of glitches in it. So I believe it would freeze or like not load if you were going into a new area or saving, which kind of important, made the game kind of unplayable. Look at that ledge grab there. And I have the GameCube version, and I hear that version came out later, so they fixed the bugs. But the developer of that game, which is Big Sky Studios or something, I believe, they've made 2 games, one Jimmy Neutron game, and Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and nothing else. Like, I've been trying to do research into developers of like old licensed games, and it's actually quite a bit harder than you'd think, because if you see like a name of a developer in credits, it's actually nearly impossible to find anything about them online. Like, I was trying to find a studio called Rockfish Studios, and their name was clearly in the credits, but if you look up Rockfish, the closest you're gonna get is an Australian TV character, which is based off a fish, who's a rockfish, which is apparently a type of fish, not like R-O-C-K rock, but R-O-C, and then fish, that's a rockfish, that's apparently a thing. And I'm just like, did these people not exist, or did they all go back in time and leave? Because that's what it looks like here. And oh my god, that was a tangent. I was speaking about Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Costumes. That game is all based around costumes. You get 4 different costumes. You get different skills with each. It's more of a puzzle platformer compared to this one. This is a much more action platformer game, and I obviously prefer these, but it's more of a like a kid's game, I'd say, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. You go around in areas, you have a checklist, it's like a scavenger hunt, get all these things, do these things, jump across this building, you get all the letters to spell Spongebob's name. If you spell his name in every area, you get beat the Flying Dutchman, and that's how the game works. And it's very slow, the movement, yeah, like I said, it's much more about just solving puzzles and getting where you need to go, figuring out what you have to do. And the character models, they're a bit janky, character models look pretty creepy, everything's slow. There's this one music track, which is fantastic. I have a playlist, and I have it on for like half an hour, and I listen to that when I'm working. It's very good. But otherwise, it's a solid game. Wouldn't recommend it over this, but if you can get it for cheap, go ahead, try it. Speaking of which, what I just did there, Ice Block, that used to be one of Sandy's skills, tethering around, the rope skills, but they decided, let's give it to Patrick, because, I mean, if you have that foundation, you have those moves, and like you get rid of a character, why not put them to use somewhere else? And the way they dealt with it, with the Ice Block, that's pretty great. Is this an extra? Here we go. They're not exactly hidden that well. So, actually, no. I'm going to take that back right away, because they are actually pretty hidden later on. This game, as opposed to Battle for Bikini Bottom, is very difficult. I'd say it's noticeably harder, especially the later levels. And that's also partially due to some like cheap ways to increase difficulty, like just doing time trials. Like, a time trial is a really easy way to make something difficult, because all you just change the time. Like, you have one really good person do a time, and then set them as like the record. Like, if you beat them, then you're really good. And you don't really need to like sort of experiment to find out what's hard and what's easy. That's one of my largest complaints about this game, is the time trials and ring levels for the sliding and driving puzzles. And what we're gonna get to here is an example. I believe that is the, what is that? That's the arena mode. Yeah, that's the fighting enemies. They have that. I think it's a fairly solid mode. Like, what do you expect? It's a gauntlet of fighting enemies, survive. As a kid, they were really hard. They're not too hard now, and they actually make fun of how hard they were. Like, you'll see people commenting online about those were the hardest parts of the game. And then the very final one, there's something very special about the final gauntlet, which is actually very clever of them, and we'll get to that. I'm saying we'll get to that a lot, and quite frankly, we will. It's just I'm trying to talk about it a lot, but I get to things that we haven't seen yet, and I don't want to talk about them now because you'll be lost. Thinking about what upgrade I want next if I reach it. I'm thinking I'm gonna go for the reflect one, because the spin attacks, the cool upgrade for this is that like you have the basic attack, and then when you upgrade it, you get sort of a secondary like area of effect or like increase. And the thing with the spin attack is it reflects projectiles, which is incredibly useful and actually very necessary for some of the later bosses. So what does she want me to do? What does she want me to do? I'm gonna do this guy first. So we're gonna do the battle, and then we're gonna get the ability from her. And the ability from Mindy is probably my favorite part of this game. It's the equivalent of the dash attack. You do a cartwheel and you spin around really fast, and it also acts as an attack, which is fantastic. And basically, I just really wanted a dash. If Battle for Bikini Bottom had a dash move, I think that game would have gone up a few points for me, because sometimes you do move a bit slow. That's one problem I have with platformers. The movement really needs to be top-notch. If you're going to have the character running at like one speed, it needs to be pretty fast. Otherwise, you're just going to be like tired that you're going so slow. Another example of this is Tak, the Power of Juju, another Nickelodeon and no, not THQ. Actually, it might be, but another Nickelodeon game. And your basic speed, it's like a okay pace, but sometimes you're just like, I need to get here. Speed up, please. And you also get lost in that game, and getting lost and having to retrace your steps and being slow, that's not exactly ideal. What else can we talk about? These guys, these hammer guys, I don't feel like any of the enemies are just straight ripped from Battle for Bikini Bottom, because they feel like they have different movements and different attack patterns. These guys are obviously, they look like a combination of the fodder robots and the ones that barf in your face. These guys are obviously based on the hammer robots, but they seem to have like a much faster swing, and they seem to be able to move a bit faster instead of like taunting you after you get hit. Yeah, later on, once they start adding the enemies with projectiles, these get really hard, but otherwise these guys are just like screwing around. They're not even getting near me. And it's a shame, because the only attack I have now is a proximity one, so I have to get near them to finish them. Look at that skybox in the background. I was actually looking up like an unused level from Battle for Bikini Bottom, which was Patrick's Dream level. It's sort of like a Sunday one where you're walking on like food and like there's pickles and banana splits and stuff, and it's just a really glitched out level. There's a YouTube video of it, so if you can find it, it's actually pretty worth checking out. Because like you know, in the original game, they just had the reference to the Dream episode where Patrick's just in like a blank space and nothing's happening, because that represents how dumb he is. But it's actually like, it's really interesting to see what levels got cut and like the ideas they had, because the concept art gallery, which is the movie theater for that game, it's actually very interesting, because you see Squidward was considered to be a boss, which eventually became true in Truth or Square, where he did become a boss, sort of similar to the concept art you see in that game. And I find that really interesting, and there's a lot of research that I found, and like there's code in the game that like Spongebob games make a lot of references to each other, even though they're not made by the same developers. Like, for example, there is this game, there's a one-liner, like Spongebob says one-liners whenever he's attacking things. He says, "Go Super Sponge" at some point, and that's a reference to his Super Sponge game, which was PS1, I believe, and I forget, a handheld or something, but basically another reference is this game. Oh, there's a really cool reference in this game to Battle for Bikini Bottom, which we'll get to. I don't want to spoil it now. But there's in Employee of the Month, which was a point-and-click game, they had a reference to Operation Krabby Patty, which was sort of a mini-game compilation. I used to have it. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest. But they make a reference, if you click on a poster, the game's box art, it says, oh, Operation Krabby Patty, my first game, which it wasn't his first game, it was his first PC game, because his first game was Legend of the Golden Spatula, which was a Game Boy Color game, which I mentioned earlier. And I know a lot, maybe too much, about SpongeBob games, so please forgive me if I sound like a total nerd. But then again, you're on a video about a guy playing a SpongeBob game from 2004, and I don't think anyone's in the position to be calling anyone a nerd here. So let's all we'll all join together and be nerds and just have a good time and talk about SpongeBob, because I like SpongeBob. I'm sure you like SpongeBob. That is just stock art that's been rotated. I could probably do that in Sony Vegas. I recently got okay in Sony Vegas. I did a lot of tutorials. I watched a lot of tutorials trying to figure out how I could do a lot of things. And then, like, after finishing my review of the SpongeBob game, compared to my other works, I'm miles ahead. Like, I'm a pure artistic genius in that regard. Meaning, compared to other people, I'm not, but compared to my old videos, I am, because I've shown a huge improvement just on track motion. I had no idea that track motion was a thing. I used event pan crop for everything. It was terrible. It was absolutely garbage. But now I know, and now things are better. And they look pretty okay. And I'm gonna destroy all these boxes. We're approaching the end of the level soon. Yeah, this is gonna be a fairly lengthy episode. Just get through this Goofy Goober place, and then we'll call that the episode. I did actually get a decent amount into recording some other episodes, so those are actually from my initial attempt. My very first episode, I just wasn't feeling it. I do think that the later episodes I did are feeling it, so that's why I'm sort of talking in the past. So sorry about that if that's the case. Upgrade time. What do I want to upgrade? Cartwheel. Oh, I do, but at the same time, Spongebob needs health. We're gonna need health in this game. And, like, really, there's no penalty for dying. There wasn't in Battle Bottom either. It was just kind of, okay, try again. And I'm fine with that. It's an okay way to do things. I don't like lives in games if lives are just gonna keep saying game over, but go ahead, keep trying. If lives don't have a consequence for running out of them, then there's no point for them being there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, oh, the song for this level, by the way, I don't know if you can hear it, but it has, it starts out with banjos, and then it goes to, like, sort of like a weird, synthesized area, so it's like, wow, 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 wow. I was looking up the, soundtrack for this game on YouTube, and this was, like, one of the standout tracks I remember. Like, compared to Battle for Bikini Bottom, the music in that game is so much more memorable because I can recite those by heart. This one is a bit harder, like, because I sold this game, I hadn't had it for a while, I had to actually get used to it, remember everything, and then once I did remember things, but it just obviously didn't stick in my mind. Another thing, like, after I released my review, a lot of people were commenting on the fact that this portion of the review where I focused on the songs went a bit too long, and I sort of agree, because that was a part of the review that I really debated on. Like, I actually went over it, like, multiple times, trying to think of what songs I want to showcase, and for how long, and, like, which part of the songs I want to showcase. And the Industrial Park one, it is such a good track, and I wanted to include this very big section, and apparently it was a bit too long for some people, but I like to put a lot of focus on music in games, because although I don't compose music on my own, I do have a large appreciation for video game soundtracks. I like to collect them whenever I have the chance, and I just really thought that the music in that game needed its own, like, dedicated section. So yeah, that's why I made that choice. Yeah. And here we are. We are approaching. We can switch characters there, but there's no real reason to. We'll just finish the level here. 22 minutes. Looks like a good time for that. Beat my old record. So thank you for watching. We'll end it here, and we'll resume with Patty driving in just a moment. So thank you.